Welcome into another edition of Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery. Today on the show, we're going to get you ready for Hawks and Heat Game 3 as the series is now shifted back here to State Farm Arena. What the Braves need to do in their next 9. They've got an interesting little stretch coming up, and Mike Tyson helps somebody pay their stupid tax. Talk about all of that next. It is Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
We thank you so much for being a part of the show. Welcome into another edition of Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. We ask you to head over to our YouTube page. Put in the browser, Locked On Sports Atlanta. When you find it, subscribe to it. Give us a review. Tell us what you think of the show. And, of course, follow me on my Twitter page. That would be at JMCH316. Well, we get ready. Hawks and Heat tonight from State Farm Arena. The series shifts back from Miami over to Atlanta. Hawks down 0-2, of course, in this series. And now it becomes must-win for the Atlanta Hawks. Not just tonight's game, but Sunday's game as well. They have to win the next 2 at State Farm Arena to keep making this a series. So a few things about the game tonight and about what the Hawks need to do to make sure that they get a victory tonight. Number one is all hands on deck. So if you're playing tonight, you better contribute. Gallinari the other night in Game 2, while he played well in Game 1, in Game 2, 0 for 6 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3. Bogey and Trey, obviously, in Game 1, didn't play well. 1 for 20 from the field, 0 for 11 from 3, you lose. Trae Young, too many turnovers, but 2 for 10 from three-point range. Herter's been inconsistent. It's all hands on deck now. And Kevin Herter yesterday wrote a letter, if you will, in the Players Tribune talking about, hey, we've been here before. We know what the situation is. We're not giving up. We're here for Atlanta. We're not ready to go home yet. Okay, cool. I'm all with you. Let's play like it then. So tonight has to be all hands on deck. We do know that Clint Capella is not going to be in this evening, so we know he is out. Whether he comes back on Sunday, not really sure. They're just kind of taking this thing day by day right now with Capella. But without him, obviously Collins has to be a low post presence. Now, the second thing that the Hawks have to do tonight is, remember, they are the number 3 3-point shooting team in the NBA this year. They have to make their outside shots. They have to make their three-point shots. Trey the other night was not good from 3, 2 for 10. It really hurt them. And while Bogey went off, you had 4 of your starters that combined to be 3 for 20 from three-point land. And Herter himself was only 3 for 7. So guys are going to have to step up and make shots. And we've been kind of talking about this all series long, that Miami is one of the better defensive teams in the league. I think it's the 4th best defensive team against what I believe is the top 1 or 2 offensive efficient teams in the NBA. So when the Hawks get their open shots, it's hard enough as it is to move the ball around and find an open shot against a good Heat defense. But when you do find those open shots, you got to hit those things. You can't afford to miss the open ones because they are few and far between. Now, Bogdanovich the other night was just lights out, even with guys' hands in his face, guys up in him, guys covering him like crazy. Didn't matter. Bogey was unconscious. But the rest of this team has really shot poorly from three-point land. I think they were 27% in Game 1, only 30% in Game 2, where they're close to 38% overall on the season. So they have to make their threes tonight. They have to get going with Trey, with Bogey, with Herter, get those guys starting to hit some threes early. The third thing is they have to ride this wave of momentum. I said the other day on the show, I think that you're going to see early on in this game, both teams try to throw some big haymakers and get on a quick run, get the pace going, get out to an early lead, because obviously the Heat feel like, okay, we can take the crowd out. And I really do expect that tonight's crowd at State Farm is going to be raucous. We've seen them in the playoffs before. Obviously, home court advantage is a definite thing. And the Hawks, by the way, are magnificent home. They finished the year 20-3 after January 17th at home. So they were magnificent to wrap up the home season at State Farm. But I do think there's going to be a big advantage tonight. Well, the Heat are going to come out and try to knock them out early. Try to get on a big run early. Hit a few big threes. Get a couple of big dunks. Get that crowd out of it. Because if they can find a way to get the crowd out of it and start to take the Hawks away from it, if they feel like they can steal game 3, this series will be over. Heat win tonight, this series is over. I don't want to hear about coming back and this, that, and the other. I mean, I appreciate all that, but 3-0 is 3-0 in a 7-game series. So look for the Heat to throw some haymakers. Hawks have to ride that. Now, I think the Hawks themselves are going to try to throw some haymakers because I do think that there is sort of a general sense that even the Heat know this is a series. Just because the Heat have won 2 games at home, and no question about game 2 was a very winnable game for the Atlanta Hawks. You know, they got that thing to 104-101, and then it was Huck a bad shot. Here's a bad turnover. That leads to a 3. This leads to a dunk. And they could just never get back within that realm. But they had their shots. They had multiple opportunities where that was just a one-possession game that they could have very much won on a night where the Heat played okay, but there was foul trouble. There was this, there was that. Jimmy Butler went off, but nobody else did with him. So it's a situation where I think the Hawks know that they think the Heat are probably in a series, and they know that the Heat realize that and understand how good the Atlanta Hawks are. Maybe if we can swing and knock them out early, then they kind of take their foot off the gas, being the Miami Heat, and say, okay, let's kind of regroup and get ready for Sunday. We're still in good shape. We're up 2-1. If we just split, you kind of put that mindset into them. So look for both teams. You know, I described it as Hagler versus Hearns. Go back and watch that fight if you never saw it. If you all you young people out there, Google who Tommy Hitman Hearns and Marvin Hagler are. But haymaker, 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 haymaker. Let's see who can take that early blow and make something happen out of all of it. And one of the other things that the Hawks have to do, if you will, number 4, if you will, is the fact that they have to continue to rebound the basketball well. Without Clint Capella and without having that inside defensive presence, they have to rebound the basketball well. Look, by and large, Bam Adebayo and P.J. Tucker have been non-factors in this series. Dedmon's been a little bit, but not much. They haven't gotten a lot out of their front court, not just from a scoring standpoint, but just none of those guys have put up any kind of big numbers as far as rebounding. They really haven't taken advantage of Capella not being in this series. They've not taken advantage of that. And Collins is a guy who, now that he's back in the starting lineup, you know, we've talked about, okay, 21 minutes in his first game back, coming off the bench. Then he starts the other night, plays 29 minutes. Is he ready to, if need be, and pressed into it, can he give you, let's say, 35, 36, 37 minutes tonight? Because with him being their only real inside presence, and with all due respect to Okongwu, he's just a short minutes kind of role player. He does some good things, but asking him in this environment to stay with it is probably asking a lot. And you're not asking Gallinari to go down and bang around and, you know, knock guys around and all of that kind of stuff. So he's got to play well, and let's see how many minutes that he's able to grab tonight for the Atlanta Hawks. Should be fun. Be a good environment. I think the Hawks do win, by the way. I think they take care of business. I think the crowd gets it going. I think the Hawks, come back on Sunday down only 2-1. All right, when we get back, the Atlanta Braves are coming back home, first day off yesterday, and about to start a stretch of 9 games that are very, very winnable before they head up to Gotham and take on the Mets. What do the Braves need to do over these next 9? We'll talk about that next. It is Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.